Hi, how you doing? I'm Guitar Sandercoe and welcome to lesson 4 of the guitar pickup with BBC Radio 2. In this fourth lesson we're going to be looking at some basic fingerstyle, an F major 7th chord and 6/8 time. So the first thing I'd like to talk about today is the importance of posture and how important it is when you're learning guitar to stay relaxed. The first key thing to really think about is your shoulders. A lot of students, when they're learning, they get a lot of tension in their shoulders, and it's funny that we kind of imagine that we're relaxed when we're not. And a good way to check with the shoulders is to push your shoulders down and then relax, and you'll find they stay down. A lot of people have them up and they imagine, oh yeah, I'm relaxed now, but actually they're not. So push your shoulders down, take a breath and relax. It's also really helpful to sit up straight, just like your mama told you. You know, if you end up, slouched like this all your time, your neck gets in a funny position, especially if you're craning around to look at your fingers. You're doing a lot of this. It's really bad for your neck. You're going to end up with high osteopath or chiropractor bills in the future if you do a lot of that. So try and get a feeling where you know where your fingers are. If you need to, have a little quick look at the chord and then come back again. Try and avoid either doing this or leaning the guitar over. It's another really common thing is people lean the guitar over, and that's just a really bad habit because you don't want to learn to play like that. So try and keep the guitar up nice and square, relax your shoulders and try and keep relaxed all the time. There's a chord called F that appears in lots and lots of beginner songs, and it's one that can be a little bit scary because it's called a bar chord. And what I'm going to teach you today is an easy substitution for that, which is called F major 7. Now it doesn't work all the time. You have to use your ears to tell if you can substitute an F major 7 for an F. But it's a good workaround. When I was learning guitar, I used to avoid songs that had an F chord in it. But if I'd known this little trick, it would have expanded my repertoire a whole lot. So let's check out this F major 7. To play the F major 7th chord, we're going to start by putting the third finger on the 3rd fret of the 4th string, then the 2nd finger in the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and finally the 1st finger on the 1st fret of the 2nd string. And we're also going to play the thinnest string open, that is with no fingers on. Now it's really important with this chord that we don't play the thickest 2 strings because they sound really horrible. So miss off those 2 strings, starting with the 4th string. We should have that sound, 3rd string, 2nd string, and the thinnest string. Now again, the real big problem with this chord is if people lay their fingers over too much, you might end up having a chord that sounds like this, which isn't good. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're using the fingertips for that one. Now you might find that your thumb is poking out over the top. If you can reach the chord and make it sound great like that, then that's fine. But you might find it helpful to put the thumb around the back of the neck because that'll bring you round onto your fingertips a little bit more. All of the music that we've looked at so far in this series has been in 4/4 time, that is having 4 beats in the bar, where we counted 1, 2, 3 and 4. But today I want to introduce you to another time signature called 6/8, and that quite simply has 6 beats in the bar. So whereas before we'd count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, now we're going to count to 6. It's not that difficult. You thought musicians could only count to 4, eh? So what we're going to be looking at now is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I want you to notice there that it's kind of 2 groups of 3. There's a little bit of an accent on beat 1 and 4. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a really interesting little pattern and great for some of the fingerstyle that we're going to be looking at later. But one thing I just wanted to mention with strumming, it's really important. If you're playing in 6/8, a really good idea is to always just strum down on each of the beats. So if we take up, say, a C chord, if you're going to play that, you'd just be literally going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if you can, put a little accent on 1 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So next up we're going to be looking at some fingerstyle patterns for this time signature, but it's really important that you know that you can strum it too. So the next time that you hear somebody playing on the radio, it's really important to remember they didn't just pick up the guitar and start playing it and be brilliant. They struggled with it too. I sure did. It takes a lot of practice. So let's hear from somebody who can really do it.
I think you have to be as relaxed as possible when you're playing an instrument, even in singing, I guess. But for me, I'm awful at it. I always slouch. I find myself, and I play piano as well, so I'm always hunched over something, and it's awful. And I did an Alexander's technique lesson and actually found that I was using muscles I didn't need to, being really tense. And I suppose going back to bar chords, it actually, when you apply kind of less pressure in the way that you're tensing everything to get a good kind of tone, it's probably better not to do that, and the more you relax into it, the kind of easier it gets. I think with the right hand, there's like simple things that you kind of, that click with you almost straight away, is like when you play a D, for example, you don't need to play all the strings because that's the chord there, and things like that, where you kind of learn where the root note is, and then you can use that as your bass, and that's kind of what I wanted to learn, and I find the most tricky. And it sounds, again, really simple, but it's kind of like driving or cooking or something that is difficult, and then it just clicks one day and you can do it. And it's one of those things, and I listen to lots of artists and guitar players that I really loved and inspired me, and I kind of really tried to learn their strumming patterns and picking patterns, and then I'm able to kind of create my own, and you just kind of find yourself doing the same thing each time, and you realise that that's your way of playing.
Playing with your fingers instead of a pick is a lot of fun, and it sounds really, really nice, and it's not very difficult. So what I want to introduce you to now is a really, really nice fingerstyle pattern in 6/8. So first of all, I want you to put down an A minor chord with your fretting hand, okay? Then what we're going to do is we're going to place the first finger of the picking hand on the 3rd string, your second finger on the 2nd string, and your 3rd finger on the thinnest string. So just place them there so they're ready to go. Now, the thumb is going to move around depending on the bass note of the chord, and we're going to be looking at that a little bit later on. But for this chord, for the A minor, the thumb is going to be playing the 5th string, so the 2nd thickest string. So what I'd recommend you start off doing is just getting used to playing the thumb, then the 1st finger, the 2nd finger, and then the 3rd finger. And then again, thumb, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. Get used to what it feels like to pick the strings. Important to note here that you don't have to have fingernails to play fingerstyle guitar. I have fake nails actually because I play acoustic guitar a lot with steel strings and my natural nails wear out. But either you can grow your fingernails or you can just play with the flesh of your fingers. It really doesn't make any difference. So let's look at this first fingerstyle pattern now in 6/8 time. So first of all, I'm going to talk you through the finger numbers. So what you want to be playing is the thumb first, then the 1st finger, 2nd finger, 3rd finger, 2nd finger, and then 1st finger. And they will always play the same string. So you're going to be playing the 5th string, 3rd string, 2nd string, 1st string, 2nd string, and then back to the 3rd string. That's the pattern. In the count would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The fingers, thumb, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. Thumb, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. When you're playing fingerstyle guitar, the thumb will usually play the bass note of each chord. So let's have a look at what the bass note is for each different chord. So if we look at a C chord, the bass note will be found on the 5th string. So your thumb will play the 5th string. It happens to be the note C for a C chord. For an A minor or an A major chord, the root note is also found on the 5th string. For a D chord or a D minor chord, the bass note is found on the 4th string. And the F major 7th also has the bass note on the 4th string. The bass note for a G chord is on the thickest string, as is for E minor and E major. Now, a really good exercise is to go and apply some of these fingerstyle patterns to songs that you know. If you want something in 4/4, you could quite simply play thumb, 1, 2, 3, thumb, 1, 2, 3, being the count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or if that feels a little bit too slow, you could go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now fingerstyle patterns can get pretty complicated, but these two patterns are really, really good to start out with.
I would say invest in a good guitar strap. Something fairly wide that'll take, because these things are heavy. This is 9–10 pounds. And most guitars, they're going to be around 7 or 8. And you're doing an hour and a half on stage. or rehearsals especially. You know, you could, these tiny old-fashioned ones were like, you know, 1/2 inch wide, and they would just cut into you. And I have some shoulder problems. I'm sure everybody from my generation and does have some, you know, posture kind of. I tend to lean forward live when I don't know I'm doing it. I know that. And I went to a chiropractor once, and she'd been to a gig, and she said, I know exactly the reason why you're in trouble. So, you know, basically make sure you know what you're doing with your guitar, really, before you put it on. You know, good strap is worth investing in. I've never consciously done anything to strengthen. I think just by playing a lot, I tend to do this a lot before I play. I think it may be, you know, kind of shaking out your hands, this type of thing. I think it's difficult when you're younger to appreciate how much it does take to get past that stage, of that pain stage. But it does, you do get past it. And, you know, tip-wise, I know some people who, they take these kind of rubber ball things, and they'll, you know, but I think I've seen that more in older people to keep maybe, you know, some aging problems away, rather than when you first begin. I think when you first begin is basically look after your hands. That's always been a conscious thing to me.
So let's talk about your 30-minute-a-day practice routine now. So what I would recommend is that you're spending 5 minutes working on your chord practice. So playing the chords, picking out the notes one at a time, and making sure you get your chords sounding really sweet. I'd recommend following that with 5 minutes of your 1-minute changes. So pick 5 chord combinations that you find difficult to change between, and practice each one as many changes as you can for 1 minute each time. And it's a really good idea to write down how many changes you're doing so you can watch your progress. Then I would recommend that you do 5 minutes on your new fingerstyle skills, because you're probably going to want to apply that to a song. And if you're still thinking about the chord changes, it's really helpful to try and get those fingerstyle patterns automated so you don't have to think about it too much. You should also continue your finger stretching exercise for 5 minutes a day. This is a really, really beneficial exercise at this stage of your guitar playing, and it'll help you with some of those tricky, stretchy chords. And then the last 10 minutes, you want to be checking out whatever songs it is that you're learning at the moment.